Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Songs of Psalms. So the last time we were together, we spoke and we read the scripture in Ephesians and Colossians so that you can be persuaded. Let scripture speak to you so that we can be persuaded, all of us together, that those scriptures were not written to musicians or singers. We're all singers. We're all singers. And we're all created by God to have music come to us and come from us, and song and sound come from us, and song and sound come to us. We were all created like that in God's image. So, Songs of Psalms, I'm going to speak to you a little bit about Psalms. So there are 5 books of Psalms. You may or may not have known that, but it's just some points of interest. There are 5 books of Psalms. Book 1 is from Psalm 1 to Psalm 41. And this entire book, from Psalms 1 to 41, is attributed to David. Book 2 is from Psalm 42 to 72. Book 3 is from Psalm 73 to 89. Book 4 is from Psalm 90 to 106. And Book 5 is Psalms 107 to 150. And so when I first learned this from Bible commentaries, I actually went to my Bible, my Amplified Bible, and I saw there, to my surprise, I'd never noticed before, Book 1. And then at the beginning of Psalm 42, Book 2. So it's even in my Bible, printed in my Bible. So the word Psalms is the Hebrew word for the word Psalms is Tehillim, and Tehillah means praise. And so Tehillim, Psalms, means book of praises or praise songs. It also means songs to the accompaniment of music. So the authorship of the Psalms, in other words, who wrote the Psalms, is assigned as follows. David wrote 73 Psalms. Asaph wrote 12. Sons of Korah wrote 10. This Bible commentary says that Moses wrote 1, but we'll get to something else just now. Henan the Ezrahite wrote 1, and Ethan the Ezrahite wrote 1. 1 or 2 are attributed to Solomon, and the rest of the Psalms, some say, are anonymous. But the rabbinical studies state the following with absolute certainty. Listen to this interesting information or bit of knowledge. The 4th book of Psalms commences with 11 consecutive works composed by Moses. That's what all the rabbinical studies say. I went to my Bible, because one of my Bibles have got particular things under the Psalms written by David, written by Asaph, written by, sons of Korah. And so when I went there, it only said of Psalm, I believe, 90, a Psalm of Moses. But then for me to discover from rabbinical studies that from Psalms 90 to 100, that these were consecutive works composed by Moses was a very thrilling thing. It just brought those Psalms, because the other Psalms from 91 to 100 were anonymous. They had nobody writing it. But then to have the rabbis say, no, Moses wrote those. Like I said before, it was an exciting thing to me. So according to the Talmud, which is rabbinical history writings, when David composed the book of Psalms, he drew upon the works of 10 scholars, including Moses. It is stated that David found these 11 Psalms in an old manuscript which had been ascribed to the authorship of Moses. David then adapted them and incorporated them into his book of Psalms. So I'm not preaching this as an absolute. I'm not proposing for you to take this, but I've gone to my Bible from Psalm 90 to Psalm 100 and written, where there's no author, a Psalm of Moses, a Psalm of Moses, a Psalm of Moses. So I'm going to read you some notes now, also from rabbinical studies about Psalms. And then it talks here about David. David composed Psalms in the midst of turbulence. So the book of Psalms was not written as a detached memoir of events long past. This book, this study says it is no less than a battlefront diary, recording the fierce conflict which raged around David. Often the style of Psalms is erratic and abrupt. Often it is difficult to detect a smooth flow and continuity from one verse to the next. Sudden cries, pleas for salvation, praise bursts forth unexpectedly in the midst of a narrative. All of this demonstrates the circumstances that David found himself in and the tension of the moments. So Psalms is not poetry. It is a cry. It is a cry to God. And heathen, I really enjoy this, heathen may well compose poetry which surpasses the literary excellence of the Psalms. There are many degenerate, immoral writers who can boast of finely polished pens. However, literary style is not the mark of Psalms. It is not so much what David said or what these authors of these Psalms said, but when they said it, when they composed it. And here they continue to say, one can easily become ecstatic when experiencing good fortune. Anyone can rapturously extol God when he sits securely. But it is only the unique, rare individual who can continue to sing and to praise and to trust God even when he falls, even after he is crushed and beaten. Right, so that's what I'm going to read from that part there. And then I'm going to read to you further from the rabbinical studies here. David begged that Psalms should not remain a form of sacred poetry. He wanted it endowed with a purifying effect on the human soul as the laws of ritual purity. So the musical accompaniment to Psalms represents the intellect, which is a symbol of purity because it is divorced from the material world. I'm going to pick up here in our next session, but I am going to finish with this. No other art form is as ethereal and intangible as music. Only sound waves traveling on air. Right, I'm going to finish there. We'll pick up again next time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye, everybody.